And we're off. Hello, everybody. Welcome in. Going to take just a moment to get started. We have very big news tonight. It's going to be big. It's going to be fun. It's going to be huge, okay? You guys already know the deal. You've been here before. Very special guest. We're doing Games Tribune now. I think that's really all we got. So are we ready to do the damn thing? Let's jump off, people, all right? Enjoy the show.
From the heart of Philadelphia, gaming capital of the world, broadcasting across the nation, live around the world, even throughout the cosmos, it's the Games Tribune Now! And at the helm, the only host you'll ever need, upper echelon gamer, Tribune!
Welcome in, everybody. How are we doing this evening? Happy Saturday. What's everyone going to do this Saturday night? What you're going to do is watch a brand spanking new episode of Games Tribune Now. We have a wonderful guest tonight. You guys are going to be so excited. This might be the best guest we have yet. I can't wait to get started. I'm so fucking ready. Who's ready, baby? Come on. Let's get it jumping. Come on. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. But first, we have a couple things. Okay, calm down, calm down. You guys are rowdy tonight. We have a couple things to touch on. You guys hear Nintendo announced Charles Martinet will no longer be doing the voice of Mario. He's instead going to become their new Mario ambassador. He's voiced Mario since as far back as Super Mario 64 for some of you old heads. With the success of Mario movie already using a much more toned down voice for Mario, this raises one question for me. Does Charles Martinet do the Mario voice in bed? Yahoo! I'm a-coming! That's what I'm talking about, baby. You guys love that stuff. I know. Alan Wake's 2 release date has been pushed back by 1 week. The development team said, we forgot we had to go to our friend's baby shower that day. Okay. They're not all winners. Starfield is available for preloading soon. The download size is 126 gigabytes on Xbox. Did you see that? That's 126 Minecrafts, okay? No way this game is 126 times better. For real, though, what is this game? It goes into early access in September. I've seen nothing about it. I watched the gameplay trailer. They have 20 seconds of actual gameplay in the 3-minute and 11-second long video. If the video is anything to go off, expect 10% of the total game to be gameplay. Compare this to 126 Minecrafts, which is 12,600% gameplay, baby. There's no way it's 100 Minecrafts, bro. The now aptly named Walking Dead franchise is set to release a third-person shooter in November. How is this IP still functioning? The Telltale game came out all the way back in 2012, at the height of the show's popularity. Might as well announce the Life of Pi sequel, okay? At this point, we start calling it Beat a Dead Horse Simulator. Who likes The Walking Dead? Come on now. What's going on? In this week's edition of This Headline Sucks, more Unreal Engine bullshit. They keep doing this to me. Listen to this headline. Artist showcases stunning container city in Unreal Engine 5.1. You heard that right. How stunning. A towering stack of shipping containers. Okay? You wouldn't believe the lighting on a disgusting 50-gallon oil drum. These artists are transcending what we thought possible for recreating a dogshit, horrible, muddy construction site that everyone has seen in their hometown. I can't believe this. The Unreal Engine. The Unreal Engine. It's truly unreal. There's a game coming out called The Grass of Genesis. New gameplay revealed for an upcoming Tomb Raider-like action game. Wrong. Tomb Raider-like action means you get to shimmy through 2 rock faces and alternate between holding up and right to climb a structure. I've got a Tomb Raider-like action game for you. It's called Tetris, but one of the pieces gets a gun. Same gameplay, okay? In the realm of indie gaming, a unique creation has emerged from the hands of a solo developer in Japan. Who's excited about this? The creation, titled Vulture, Unlimited Frontier introduces players to a captivating, action-packed experience that revolves around the mastery of a colossal robotic entity. Can you believe this? That's right, folks. For the first time ever in Japanese gaming, you can finally control a giant, customizable robot. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. You guys all love it. Guys, that's all I got for you this time, okay? There's not a lot of gaming news going on. But there is something else big going on in gaming right now, okay? And it's ChadMusic. So what we've got tonight, we got a lot to talk about. We got a big spread, okay? But we're going to let the man come in himself. Everybody give a huge round of applause for our guest, ChadMusic, baby.
Hello, 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 hello.
Yes, welcome in.
How are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. Thanks for coming on the show. Everybody give it up for Chad.
Thank you for having me, dude.
Dude, it is my pleasure. My absolute pleasure to have you on. Thank you so much for doing this, dude. It looks like, dude, the crowd's going off. They love you in the chat.
I love the crowd. I really do.
So there's a couple of questions, dude. I'm going to jump right into it if you don't mind.
Yeah, let's do it.
So first, I have to ask you right away. What comes first? Your love of music or your love of video games?
Equal.
Equal. I was about to say, perhaps did they grow hand in hand?
They have absolutely hand in hand.
But if you had to, which one actually came first? Did you play music first, or did you start gaming first? Or are they that close?
I definitely started gaming first, but the music is what kind of kept me, like, rooted. You know, It's one thing to play like a Super Mario Brothers and you lose and you're like, I don't like this, I hate this, but the music is what kind of tethered me to it.
Yeah.
So it was like, as soon as I heard the music with the gaming, that experience locked together. It was like, this is what I want to do.
That's so wonderful, dude. I'm a fan of video game music. I can't play very well, so I admire what you got going on. How long have you actually been playing?
I've been playing, well, I should say I've been like making music, like actually producing and recording it for about 10 years, but like the whole thought process of music probably as early as back as I can remember.
Yeah. So what sort of instruments you dabble in?
So I play guitar, bass, I play piano/keyboard.
Oh, wow.
I do a little bit of drum programming and I can play a little bit of real drums, and then I sing.
Oh wow, you got the whole package, man. You're a one-man band.
I definitely try to be able to do as many things as I need to do.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So you sometimes, this is something I need to get this off my chest right away. When you get rated on your stream, you will jam along to a song that's playing. And now, coming from someone who is a novice in music, are you that familiar with every video game song? Because you play it to what is playing in the game. Do you know enough, like, musically to jam along to everything by just hearing it slightly? I can't personally decide which is more impressive.
Yes. So basically, I would say the secret, if there is any secret, is that most video game music kind of tends to fall into the same patterns.
Okay.
That's what I've learned. And like I've been studying video game music for as long as I can remember, so I try to like figure out what is it that makes it catchy. Where's the similarities between like every video game song? They kind of all do a very melodic, heavy thing that I kind of latched onto. So if I've never heard the song, I will try to kind of do my fallback riffs and things like that, as long as it's in the same key, and that will kind of carry the song. But most of the time, it is a song that I know. If I'm playing the game and I know the game, chances are I already know the song. Yeah.
That's crazy. You have like such a wide range of musical knowledge too, because I've seen you play Final Fantasy IX and Secret of Mana and Final Fantasy VII on stream, and among other things. So it's like you've got a wealth of music knowledge to draw from.
That's the best part. There's so many good games with really good music, and I think one of the coolest things in the world is when someone tells you about a game that you didn't know about, and then you look at you listen to the soundtrack, and it's like becomes your next favorite thing.
Yeah, I mean, you suggested that what was the racing game that you told me about the album?
Metropolis. It's funny because I actually have it right here on my desk.
Show it off.
Metropolis Street Racer.
He said he just put this on the other day in stream. He put on Metropolis Street Racer, and I was like, I could listen to this album just as an album. I couldn't believe it. I was blown away. So
And you
that's
wouldn't know because it's trapped. I hate to say it, but it's trapped inside of a Dreamcast racing game that probably nobody knows
yeah.
about.
There is
But
a
it's
thing to
really good
that.
music.
I have said before, there are a couple games that I have played because the soundtrack was so good that I wanted to keep going, even though the game wasn't that good.
Yeah.
I say, actually, probably the biggest one, I say Final Fantasy VIII is carried by its soundtrack.
Yeah, I completely agree.
There's,
I streamed that game for the first time, and I really, as fun as the game itself was, it was kind of a chaotic mess.
Mhm.
But the music was what
It
was really
really
keeping me
like is
together.
it's so interesting when you think about it because there's when you're creating music for a video game, like you have the art assets and all the animations and the story, but then there's also just like a soundtrack behind it that some people, their entire goal is to make that soundtrack, and this is just tacked
Yes.
onto a video game, and it's so like incredible that you can do something like that. So do you play like live music? You play in bands, or is it all online creations?
So it's pretty interesting. I would say like at this point now, I mostly do online creations. Instagram videos, YouTube videos, and then Twitch streaming. But for the first maybe 6, 7 years of me playing music, I was mostly playing live. So I was playing in a lot of bands. I played keyboard for this disco synth band. I played second guitar for a rock band. It was kind of like the Strokes. I played bass slash keyboard for this like psychedelic 60s style band. And this is basically all the way up until COVID happened.
Oh
And then
wow.
I was about to start playing my own music. The day that COVID shut down New York City was the day that I was booked for a
Oh
show
no.
in a bar called Pianos. And,
That's so
nature takes
unfortunate.
its turns.
Yeah, for sure. Do you miss playing live?
I do miss playing live, but I will say that I've never had like nearly the amount of control that I have playing online, playing
Yeah.
on stream, and playing with my own setup. I've always wanted that level of control, and I think in every live setting, you're just never going to get it.
How much do you enjoy playing video game music to the point where like the rise of like video game music online, especially now on YouTube with a ton of famous people that do video game covers? Have you ever thought of getting into the realm of that?
I definitely, so first of all, I do love playing video game music more than just about anything. I can play the jazz, I can play rock, all of
Yeah.
that stuff, but video game music is probably the number one. I will say that the video game music making community, such as like people like Button Masher, people like Maxo, T Lopes from the Sonic Mania soundtrack, all that community has been such a inspiration to me. But I've always seen myself as kind of on the fringe of it, just because I didn't study the same way that those guys did, and
Okay.
I don't really categorize myself as like a chip tune artist necessarily, because I think those dudes are on a whole different level.
Oh, for sure.
And I've always looked up to those dudes, and I've always admired those dudes, and I've even been able to hang out in some of those circles. But I do see that there is a very stark difference in some of the stuff they talk about, and I
Yeah.
feel like I can't keep up.
Do you ever feel like getting into something like that, you have to have your own like flair on it because there's so many people now that have access to playing video game music? Do you think that you would have to go in with the ChadMusic unique experience, or you think that you'd be able to just put like your like just play it the way that you want to without him doing something like
I think that music will always call for a different thing, whether it's like it calls for you to play exactly like everybody else is playing, or it's calling for you to play for exact your own style, do something completely different. I will say what I've seen a lot of in the video game music making community is jazz,
that? Yeah,
heavy jazz
it's huge.
players,
Yeah,
Coltrane, Duke Ellington, Miles Davis, these guys, Chick Corea, these guys are studying the jazz guys and then just making video game music with it. And I will say it's fascinating to me because that was always, I guess, the natural progression. But I would like to see a lot more interesting rock music, like Anamanaguchi, for example, was like a chiptune rock band. They did the Scott Pilgrim soundtrack. I feel like we're moving further away from that era and more into this heavy jazz era
yeah.
of video game music.
Are you familiar with OC Remix at all?
I am. That was some of the earliest
Yeah.
music I was listening to.
I still have some of their songs like on playlists from years and years ago that are just so
like
good.
2006.
Yeah, dude, that was around for a long time. So that's another question where that is like they sort of make it their own song, and they have like a huge vetting process. If you've ever been around the like, obviously we're in the OC remix days where they'd be like approved and they had like people moderating it and things like that. So
Right.
it wasn't just like I did this, I like it, I put it up. There was like a host
Yes,
of people
yeah.
doing it, and they would like make album stuff like that together. So would you be like interested in something like that where you're like doing a twist on it and it's being reviewed by people, or you like having like complete control?
I would love to contribute or collaborate, right, I should say, to like a project like that where everybody's kind of trying to work on, let's say, aquatic ambience from Donkey Kong Country, the water song from that.
Yeah, that's super popular.
Super popular. I feel like everybody would bring something different because everybody listened to that song growing up. Everybody has their own interpretation of it. That would be a dream project of mine, is to work on a big one of those.
Dude, we'll get you into it, dude. Let me tighten this up. Let me talk to my people. We're gonna get you involved.
Yeah, man.
Have you seen this at all? There's like a thing I've been seeing lately. I'm not sure how new it is, but I've only been seeing it as about 6 months ago, where people online have been taking the video game like music, I want to say palette, and then making a song album out of it. And by that I mean I've seen like someone do the entirety of Linkin Park's Hybrid Theory, but with like the Super Mario 64 like sound files. Have you seen stuff like that?
I love that stuff. I do that kind of
Oh,
stuff.
wow, okay.
It's the sound font world.
Yes, sound font. There you go. Thank you.
It's a super duper fun thing because it's a very specific kind of powerful feeling when you're playing a piano chord, but it sounds like Final Fantasy VI.
Yes.
Because you're using the same instruments. So it's a very powerful feeling to have that sound just available.
Yeah, it's almost as if you were making another track for the game.
Exactly.
Or doing something
That's
like that.
exactly it.
So getting a little bit away from those specific stuff, what's like your favorite video game, you might say? And I know this is a tough one. People don't like to pick favorites. So if you have a couple top ones, top 2, 3, I know it moves around. Just throw a couple out.
Yeah, sure. Sonic, hands down. Sonic the Hedgehog.
The franchise, the entire
The franchise. I can't even name just one because it just extends. I'll start talking about one song and then I'll end up like 50 different games down the line.
I am classically, I gotta tell you right now, pretty anti-Sonic as a gamer.
Anti-Sonic.
I'm not. We won't go into it. I know there's a lot of people that are happy.
Okay,
There's a huge Sonic fans. The music, again, the music carries. The Sonic music, incredible.
There
But
you go.
It's not. That's awesome though. Sonic. Which of the franchises is your favorite game?
Okay, so I would say specifically if I had to like Sonic 3.
Okay, that's a
hands
good pick.
down magnetic north for me.
Yeah,
Is Sonic the Hedgehog
got it.
3.
Okay. Give me like a couple other games besides Sonic that might be up there on your list.
Okay. Parasite Eve for
That's
PlayStation. Huge.
Love
a lot
it.
of people, if you know, you know. If you don't know, you probably have heard somebody talk about it.
If you don't know, you
but
can't afford it.
That's it. That's really the problem. But it's kind of well known, kind of not so known Squaresoft RPG on PlayStation 1 with music from the composer of Kingdom Hearts, which I feel like everybody knows Kingdom Hearts. Before she did that, she did a little known RPG called Parasite Eve, and it's like unreal. Highly recommend.
Huge. Oh, I love that. That's awesome. Maybe we'll get some Parasite Eve plays going on. Have you played it on stream?
I did, yeah.
Nice.
I played it. The first time I played the game was on stream,
Oh,
and
wow.
that was
You
experience.
fell in love. The first time I saw it, this is like before Twitch existed. We used to do stuff like this where I was at my buddy's house and he was just playing it and I was watching it. And I was like, oh, this game is crazy as hell.
You just have to know somebody who knows the game. That's because it wasn't very well advertised.
No.
So.
I think when we were growing up, maybe it was easier to find out about it. It came out like when we were around before PlayStation, so it came out.
Yeah.
I think it was easier to find it. And then on the opposite side, what's your favorite band or bands or artists?
So yeah, speaking on like more of the I guess contemporary music side, not necessarily video game music, bands, I would say well, one of my favorite artists is a jazz fusion violin player, which is not a usual instrument, but a violin player named Jean-Luc Ponty. One of my absolute favorite artists, inspirations, just genius, genius.
If you had to recommend a song by Jean-Luc Ponty, what would it be?
Oh my god.
just No
Any
pressure.
song, it's funny because literally it doesn't matter. I could say any song and it'd be fine. I'm gonna say Cosmic Messenger.
You know what? I absolutely love that you say that because it's the only song I've ever heard from him, and it was because
Okay,
Dumpster Donuts was playing it on his stream,
there you go.
and I
Yeah,
was like,
I
"What
remember.
is this?" I do it to him all the
Cosmic.
time. That's been a crazy thing about Twitch, where I'll be in someone's channel and go, "What is playing right now?" And I have to bother them
Hmm.
and say, "What is that song?" And I found a ton of great ones from that. So
Yeah.
that's the only song I've ever heard by him, and I also give it a recommend.
There you go. All right,
It's
so
so
I'll give you
incredible.
another one. Another
Yes.
song by him is called "Don't Let the World Pass You By."
Don't let the world pass you by. Okay, incredible. What else you got? Give me like one or two more artists if you don't mind.
So well, I mean, if I'm gonna be honest, my roots come from my parents, and my parents. I grew up listening to a lot of Michael Jackson,
Mm-hmm.
um, Prince, Janet Jackson. You know, the R&B
Of
artists of the
course.
day. So I would just kind of say a blanket for the R&B world, Michael Jackson,
Yeah.
as like,
What's your
and
favorite
I
Michael
know
Jackson song?
favorite Michael Jackson song. Oh
Yeah.
man,
That's it's so hard. You can't answer that
it's
question.
hard, but I always like to give a deep cut answer because I feel like it turns people on to like, oh, I would have never heard that song. I'm gonna say "Break of Dawn" from his last album, Invincible.
Okay. That is a deep cut. People don't typically get into Invincible, I don't think, but
Yeah, I
that's
know,
awesome.
and it had some pretty serious songs on it, but it didn't really get a lot of radio play.
Yeah.
So I listened to all his records, and you know, obviously he has a colored reputation history. I'm not going to get into all of
Sure.
that,
Yeah, we
but
don't have to touch
speaking
on it.
specifically of the music, I
Yeah.
really love uh, his last album specifically. I think that was the one that really got me into more of his music.
That's unexpected. You don't hear that very much. And I know you said you don't want to talk about, but what are your top 15 favorite things about Michael Jackson as a person? I'm just kidding.
As a
I'm
person, I
kidding.
mean,
Let's not. I'm kidding. We don't have to do that. No, yeah, okay. Let me get one more artist from you.
one more
gotta know.
artist.
Yeah,
Okay,
let's round it
so
out
I'm
with
going
a
to
third.
throw a complete other curveball and
Yes.
say Metallica.
Oh, great! I love that. So you got a little bit of everything. You like.
I like
You're not, yeah.
if I'm gonna go down the music route, I need to absorb as much of it as I can. So
Do you go to see live shows a lot?
I do.
Who do you think is the
Absolutely.
artist you've seen most live?
The artist I've seen most live. Wow. I'm gonna say that's tough because I feel like I've seen a lot of my favorite artists multiple times.
Yeah,
So I'm trying to think of which one I've actually seen the most times. I'm gonna say it's this group called Moonchild.
Moonchild. I've not heard of them.
They're not super huge, but to me they're like my absolute favorite just neo soul R&B group. They're a bunch of jazz. They're
Okay.
around my age, so
Okay.
they were jazz college kids. They got together, they started making music, and it is like the best mix of if I could name more contemporary artists like Jill Scott or like Janet Jackson, like that kind of R&B style from just three people, I should say.
Yeah.
And the singer, her name is Amber Navrin. She's absolutely incredible. Just a dream.
I'm getting
She's
so
a
many.
literal
I'm
dream.
getting so much great stuff to check out. I love finding new music, so this is
Yeah,
wonderful for
yeah.
me. This is what I want to do the whole time. I actually brought you on to be able to pick your brain
I,
professionally about all your favorite music artists, so I can listen to them myself. So, okay, now as far as video game music goes, right? Like, do you think you like playing more to the stuff that's more modern and coming out now because I mean it's like a little bit deeper, or in comparison to like an NES song, something like that?
ooh, so that's an interesting question because I feel like it really does fluctuate. Like I would say that earlier video game music has had such a like bigger impact on me, specifically like Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, regular NES,
Mm-hmm.
Nintendo. That music has had such a huge impact on me. It's almost impossible for anything modern or today to have that level of impact. But I will say I do like the way that video game has gone in a more cinematic direction. Like music is much more about setting the scene, and it's much more about like this is an epic cutscene, so we're
Yeah.
gonna have music that really makes it feel like this, rather than being like a chemical plant to
Yeah.
you know what I mean, like
Yeah.
a song, like a title where you can recognize.
Yeah, or like
So
an arcadey type of, stage
right,
music. Yeah.
yes, stage music,
Yeah.
exactly.
I get that. And I think I don't know, I would like to know how you feel about this. So, do you play any rhythm games ever?
Yes,
You get any
huge
rhythm
rhythm
games?
game
Yeah.
player.
So I've been playing the Final Fantasy Theater Rhythm
Okay.
on Switch, the new one lately. And something I noticed is how complex the songs are getting nowadays. Because I was going like through each one, where obviously when you're listening to Final Fantasy 4, it's just do. They can't do too
Yeah.
much with it. And then you go to something like 13, 14, 15, and they have those in there. And I'm like,
Yes.
what is going on in some of these? They're so chaotic and they're triumphant. And even going to like Final Fantasy 7 remake now, it's the same songs, but you can see what they've done to them now. So that sort of like
Yep.
progression. How do you feel about stuff like that, like changing? You're a fan of Final Fantasy 7, obviously. So like changing
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
hearing the old version of One Winged Angel and then the new one, or hearing the old version of Bombing Mission and the new one. Like, how do you feel
Yeah.
about their comparison there?
That is some of my favorite things in the whole wide world, is having a classic song or a classic memory of a song and then hearing it redone in a new, like, orchestral way, or it with the same artist is coming back to redo the song in a different 2023 way, kind of way.
Yeah,
That stuff is so inspirational to me. I think that's like one of the best things you can achieve as an artist, is to have a body of work that gets completely redone 20 years later.
yeah. I would say too. It's like at like listening to it. It's obviously the original invokes so much emotion from me, and switching
Right.
to the new one, I was like not sure if I wanted to play the Final Fantasy 7 remake, and I
Hmm.
played Theater Rhythm, and I heard all the tracks, and they were so good that I was like,
Yeah.
I actually might have to give it a shot. The music was just so incredible, and I wasn't even expecting it.
Yes.
And I was like, I love these songs. How can you improve upon them? And then they did. So I was like, oh wow, that's really such an accomplishment, especially because it meant so much to you. And then they changed it. I still liked
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yep. And it's
So
hard because fans are always going to be, you know,
yeah,
expecting one thing or hoping they don't mess with another thing. I'm probably one of the biggest uh proponents of that. Like,
yeah,
I tend to prefer the original
same.
over most things, but lately things have been getting a lot better.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many people in the industry now. Like as it's growing, you're getting more and more people that get their hands on it, and more talented artists and things like that. And so, how did you? When did you first start streaming?
When I first started streaming, I started streaming pretty much right, maybe like a couple of months after COVID had finally locked us all down. So I would say like March 2020.
Okay. And has it been since the start? Have you been like musically focused the whole time and been incorporating that into everything from the start?
That's a good question. I mean, yes and no. Like, to really honestly answer that question, I had no idea how I was gonna put music in the stream,
Yeah.
or like what was I gonna do? Was I gonna be doing like producing, like just sitting with my keyboard and having the tracks on the screen? Was I gonna be one of those guys? Was I gonna be like a DJ kind of guy? It never really was like an idea that I had from the beginning. It just kind of tumbled into like playing my guitar with the microphone hookup and everything.
Yeah. You evolved into that obviously. Do you think that you would evolve further and end up doing more like musical projects as you go on?
Yeah,
Do you have plans
totally.
for that or?
I have a lot of big plans.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
ultimately, so to give a quick overview, I have my guitar right here, which is plugged into my audio interface, and I can play guitar. I have my keyboard right here, also in front of me, but I don't really exactly have an interface to get my keyboard or my MIDI keyboard, which is basically a controller, into my PC. I can get my MIDI keyboard into my laptop, which is where I make my music, but I can't get it into the PC. Once I make that connection, everything is going to
Okay.
change.
Okay.
Everything's going to change.
Cool. So, but you have like any plans that you can unveil, or is it still in the hush hush right now? We got
Oh,
nothing.
as far as like musical projects, well, I do have a project that I've been very like slowly working on over the last couple of years. This was basically, I want to say, my big COVID lockdown project of songs that I've just been making since, from the very beginning of COVID till just pretty much around now. And progress has been kind of up and down, mostly because I've been focusing a lot on streaming, and I recently had a job. I was recently working at Trader Joe's, and I also recently just quit Trader Joe's so I could get back to this stuff.
Yeah, down
So
with Trader Joe's.
down with Trader
We
Joe's.
hate
I mean,
Trader
they're
Joe's.
cool, but they
Oh.
just did not really provide.
They were pulling you
what I
away from
needed.
your dream, is what I say.
They're pulling me
so.
away from my dream, and I think a lot of people. I was feeling like I was letting people down. Like, even though I was surviving and I was making money so I could, get my life on track, I was feeling like I was letting people down. So,
Gotta keep
the
the train
ultimate
rolling.
answer to that question is yes, I do have one big album, and it's a big album. It's gonna be about like 30 songs.
Awesome.
Yeah, coming to Spotify. It's gonna be called Chill, and it's gonna consist of a lot of songs that you've probably heard on my SoundCloud or in other people's streams, along with some new songs that have not been released at all. So
Yeah, for anyone that's watching live, thank you to Kev. He did post your Instagram, YouTube, SoundCloud links there.
Thank
Go
you
check
so
him out.
much.
He does have a Spotify as well. Check him out on there. That's so incredible. We love that. Dude, I'm so jacked up. You got so much good stuff going on. Now,
thank you.
this is probably leading into like the end of it.
Yeah.
Would you or have you ever had like an ambition to make a soundtrack for a video game?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yes.
Have you ever taken
100%.
steps towards it?
So I basically I've kind of talked about this on stream before. I've showed this on stream. I've had a dream project, which I started making the soundtrack for. It was one of those things where I told myself, if I make the soundtrack for it first, at least I'll be one step of the way there.
Yeah.
That's like the easiest part for me. So, but it is like a big lifelong goal that one day I really, really do hope to make. But the overview is, it's called the Lost Fantasy. That's like the code name. It's not the
Okay.
final name.
Okay.
Lost Fantasy. And the premise is, it is a 4-hero RPG where you have your main 4 party members, but you have to find them throughout the course of the game. So you start with the attacker, then eventually you get the healer, then eventually you get the tank, then you eventually get the buff person who,
Okay.
heal or gives you the buffs and stuff. But the thing about it is, they're all trapped on different worlds, and you have to kind of make do with what you have initially, just the attacker, and buying potions and healing that way. Then you get the healer, then you can learn a new system of gameplay so it gradually becomes more complex the more you play it, rather than you just having your static party and then they just all do their own things from the very beginning. You have to kind of gradually get these things. And the other fun thing about the game is every world is based off a different RPG. Speaking like Final Fantasy or Pokemon or Earthbound. And in each world, I was going to make the soundtrack using that specific game's sound fonts or instruments that sound like it,
Yeah.
to kind of imply that this is like a Pokemon world and this is a Final Fantasy world. And ultimately, it was going to be like a love letter to all of my favorite games.
That's really ambitious. I love that. That's such a great idea.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I knew it was going to be a huge project, so I figured if I start with the easy part of just making the music, that'll be one step down.
That's the easy part for you, is making the entire soundtrack for this.
Yeah.
That's so great. No, I mean, that sounds incredible. I mean, I love where your head's at with that, just taking the music and the gaming and forging ahead with it. I wish I was you, honestly, and I'm trying to do a little Freaky Friday scenario as soon as possible.
I mean, I will say it's a lot of work. Everything I do,
Yes.
I feel like it is definitely, there's a lot of work that goes into it. So
Yeah.
I do feel like, it's a labor of love sort of thing.
Yeah, no, I absolutely get that. I mean, obviously, it's the music it didn't pop up out of thin air. I'm putting a lot of time into that. So, well, do you have anything you want to promote? Anything special you got? We have all your socials up on the thing here.
Yeah, you pretty much got everything. I mean, other than that, just the Twitch channel mostly. I'm mostly gonna just be streaming until I'm trying. I guess if I get any one thing I could promote, it's just I'm pushing for partner. I'm pushing for Twitch partner.
Okay. Yeah. No. Awesome. That's incredible. So if you guys are into video games and you're into music, Chad, multi-talented gamer extraordinaire, musically enhanced. Check him out. ChadMusic on Instagram. ChadMusic on YouTube. ChadMusic NY on SoundCloud.
Yes.
And Chad, I don't know what it is on. What's on Spotify?
It's Chad Johnson.
Chad
which,
Johnson. Wait.
You know, I know it's kind of messed up, but I figured it's easier to make it that my real name on Spotify and then ChadMusic everywhere.
That's not your real name. You got that from the football player.
From the football player,
He
yeah,
took it,
no,
yeah.
yeah, he actually
That's
got
cool.
it. Believe it or not.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So, dude, so thank you so much for being on the show. Everybody,
so
give
much
it
for
up
having me.
for Chad. Check him out on all of these, and check him out. His Twitch link should be in my title. You can click on the name ChadMusic. It'll take you right to his page. You can follow. Let's get him to partner, dude. That'd be so epic. Keep him apprised. He's got some plans in the future, and just a million thank yous for coming on the show. It was been
Thank
it's
you
been a
a
pleasure
million
having you.
bajillion times. For
No,
having
thank
me.
you 2 million bajillion and one. Okay.
And one.
Thank
yeah.
you. No, seriously, thank you. Have a great night, and everybody take care. That's it for us tonight. Goodbye.